Hello everyone. I had a viewer request that I talk a little bit about spirituality when it comes to parenting and what we choose to share or expose our children to. And over the years, I've definitely done a few videos on the channel talking about this. And so if I remember, I'll post the links to those older videos down below for you in case you're interested in hearing my thoughts from when Vincent, my son, was a lot younger. So the first thing that I want to say is that I am not without my scars when it comes to religion in childhood. And because of that, I'm very, very aware of not wanting to force a belief system or even a set of ideas or ideals on my child. I also really do feel like our children are their own beings and individuals, and it is not a requirement that they line up with or believe or agree with everything we do as parents in order to be good children, or like whatever idea of that is. That was something that I did find to be particularly harrowing as a child, you know, being considered a possession, that someone else has ownership of you and that you have to act a certain way because you are someone's child. So those things have kind of really informed how I approach a lot of my parenting. And when it comes to spirituality, my son is very intuitive. And so always from the beginning, it's been very important to me to encourage him in regards to trusting his intuition. I don't think that this is necessarily a spiritual thing, for lack of a better term on my part today, insofar as I think you can access intuition and you don't have to have a spiritual faith or follow I don't know, any basic tenets of spirituality. I think intuition is something that we come in with, right? So encouraging him to trust his intuition has had less to do with a certain set of spiritual beliefs than it has to do with really just encouraging him to trust his gut. You know, there's a difference between a tantrum and a no, I actually don't want to go with that person type of upset from a child. And so as a parent, where possible and when possible, tuning into that and encouraging my son to trust that has been really important to me. It really matters. And I think it's something that I hope will not be shut off for him, his ability to tap into his intuition and to trust it. And so I want to do my best to foster that as a parent. And that doesn't require, again, any set of spiritual beliefs. So many of you know that I do have an altar in my home. I have many altars in my home. I shouldn't just say one, but I have one main altar downstairs in my home. Vincent's always had altars in his life. Excuse me. And I've never forced him to connect with the altar at all. It's just something that he's naturally been drawn to. He makes his own altars here and there when he feels like it. Especially when we go to the ocean or if we're spending time like way out in the woods and we're going to be, you know, sitting and chilling for a little bit. He likes to make altars in nature as well. And so that's been something that he's picked up from living with me, but it's not something that I've ever forced on him. And we also have very frank conversations about religion and spirituality and belief systems. He's exposed to a lot of other spiritual and religious beliefs at school through friends and through visiting friends' homes. And we always have really great conversation about that. And I know even though he's only 9 at the time I'm recording this, there was a time probably about 3 years ago where he had a friend who had a very Christian home, and he really wanted to believe in God for a time. And so we had great conversations about that, and I really allowed him to explore that on his own and what that would look like for himself. And it's something that he played with for a little while, and then, I mean, he was like 6, you know, he let it go, and then it became about exploring something else. So I think it's important to allow, well, at least for me as a parent, it's been important to allow my son to be exposed to different beliefs, to have discussions about those things, and to have freedom to try them on for size without me, excuse me guys, sorry, allergies today. I think I'm gonna cough really briefly. I'm gonna try not to, but excuse me. To be exposed that for me, I wouldn't choose to bring into my spiritual path. But I do think it's powerful for our children to have the freedom to make those choices for themselves. So we are very comfortable having open dialogue with each other about pretty much everything. I do think clear communication is important in every relationship, but especially with our children, and honesty. And we also have an awareness and understanding that, again, as I talk about a lot on this channel, there's no one truth. I really do believe that. And so giving him the freedom to know that he doesn't have to commit to something, but that he can explore. This is a time where he can explore. That's been something that I feel has been positive for him, and given him some freedom where I do see other children his age experiencing some rigidity around that. You know, we do live a different life. And so in our little sleepy New England community, Vincent and I kind of stick out like a sore thumb, I would say. But we also are open to dialoguing with his friends that come over and having conversations with them as well. So I do think it's important to have debate, and it's important for them to be able to be exposed to things. Now, does that mean that I'm going to create like a religions of the world syllabus for him and, very purposely expose him to every kind of religion I can think of? I don't currently feel called to do that. I'm not saying that we won't explore something where we look at different religions in the future as he has more questions. But at least at this point in time, I don't feel a need to do that, because I think he's exposed just through school and just through being to all kinds of different beliefs, spiritual and otherwise. I will say I do practice my spirituality freely in front of him. And again, we always are able to have dialogue about that. He's a little bit more drawn to the shamanic aspects of my craft, and so he really does like to work with the grandmothers who are associated with the medicine wheel from shamanic work. And he loves to kind of have conversations with them, free-form conversations, just if he's feeling particularly stressed about something, or if he sees me in front of the altar and wants to talk with them. Or if there's something he's really excited about that he wants to have happen, he'll often, say a little prayer to them, which is a beautiful thing to see. But again, it's not necessary for him as my child. So for me, it's been very important to create a really supportive, free environment when it comes to spirituality. We're a very artistic, creative family. And so I would say the bulk of our time is spent engaging in using our imagination and writing and drawing or coloring and doing those types of things together. And I hope that gives him the freedom, as he grows, to discover what his truth is. Because, if a Christian based faith, I'm so sorry guys, the allergies have me like so spacey this last week and a half. Anyhow, if he should choose a Christian-based faith, I will have no problem with that, because it's his choice and his path. And it's something that I wish my parents had offered me, that freedom to be able to explore my own spiritual journey. Now, I do want to speak quickly about ethics here, because I think someone, not the most recent viewer who asked this question, but I feel like somewhere down the line, someone had mentioned something to me about that. Like, well, what do you, if you're not teaching them something specific, then how are you giving them kind of like a code of ethics? Again, I don't think you need to follow any specifics-based spirituality or faith-based way of living to have ethics. I know plenty atheists and agnostics, and plenty of Satanists who certainly live very kind, generous lives. And they don't need to have a specific faith in order to be a good person. So I don't think that I need to be teaching him something faith-based in order for him to understand what it's like to be a good person. I think those type of ethics are things that we think about on our own, and we have experiences with that teach us things, like those moments where, like for instance, for my son who does deal with some bullying, those moments are those teachable moments for him where he can decide, well, what does it mean to be a good person here? How does my response show what type of person I am? How do I want to be seen by my peers? How do I want to conduct myself in the world? What kind of difference do I want to make in the world? So I don't think you need specific, like a specific faith in order to be a good person and have good ethics and to share that. And also, so as far as spirit guides go, working with other entities, etc., for Vincent, I've very much encouraged him to feel comfortable with his imaginary friends. And I do consider those to be forms of spirit guides. So for Vincent, he has like total freedom to play with his imaginary friends, to have conversations with them, to have them at the dinner table, etc. That's not something that I've discouraged, and it's also not something that I've forced for him. He has names for some of his imaginary friends, and we love to address them by those names, and again, bring them to the table when he wants them to be there, and when he doesn't, it's something that isn't forced. But I definitely think imaginary friends are beautiful ways in which our children explore their intuition and imagination, and so I've absolutely encouraged that while not forcing that for him. So for those of you who would like to bring in like aspects of your spirituality and share them with your children in a way where you won't feel like you're necessarily forcing something on them, I think there are beautiful ways to share, especially those of us who identify as witches, our path with our kids without making it like a sermon or making them feel like it's something they have to do. For me, the altar aspect of things found in nature, and us asking the grandmothers if we can bring those back to the altar and then bringing them back into our sacred space and really honoring them in our home, that's been something that's been really beautiful to share with Vincent. And as I said, he loves to make those arrangements and make those offerings. And it's something that as we do it, we try to do so very intentionally. And so that's a way in which I think I can show my son the heart of my practice without forcing him to come along for the ride. Another thing that we both really enjoy is connecting with the elements. So whether we go out into the woods for a walk to connect with earth, whether we go to the ocean to connect with water, whether we eat s'mores around a fire, a bonfire in order to connect with the element of fire, or we go and watch birds in order to connect with the element of air. Those type of things are really beautiful ways in which I feel like I can share the heart of my practice with my son, and he doesn't have to feel forced to do anything, because he can bring in a love of the elements to any type of spiritual path he follows or not. You know, there's something really universal about nature, and I love that that's a way in which we connect really strongly. So these are my thoughts on spiritual parenting as time has gone by, as my son gets older. And I know for those of you who are parents as well, this is something that you all are thinking about. It's always a balancing act, right? And at some point, we're always going to fuck something up. So it's just about doing the best that we can, letting our children know we love them, having honest communication with them. You know, and when we get triggered, like sometimes I will get triggered around certain of his friends whose parents are extremely religious. Taking a step back so that I can like have my own reaction and then make a decision, or then have a conversation with my son, I've found has proven to be much more helpful than reacting in the moment. So if that's something that comes up for you at times, maybe you'll find some encouragement there. It can be tricky. I do understand that. So anyhow, to the viewer who requested this, thank you so much. As always, I am sending you all so much love and many blessings, and I'll see you in the next video.